Hey everybody, welcome to another episode with Travels with Dottie. I think you can see Dottie over there, crashed on the couch in my little home base in New Mexico. And I thought I would do 10 things I wish I knew before doing this. And things that I might do differently if I had it to do over again. Some of them are kind of funny, others are hard earned, but all of them I think could help you avoid potentially some frustration and make the most of this amazing journey of being retired and fancy free on the road. Make sure to watch into the end so you get all 10 of them. The first one, downsizing, is hard and emotional and harder and more emotional than you think. A lot is going to depend on how big was the place you were living before you got your RV and how big was your RV. Generally, I've been living in fairly big apartments and townhouses and houses. And by the time I got my RV, I had a lot of stuff, let me tell you. And it is, you end up having to sell or give away or throw away a ton of stuff. And, there are things that I don't have anymore that I think about a little bit. Like there's a couple of books that had sentimental value that I got rid of because I had an entire closet full of books. I loved books, physical books, and said I can't afford space wise to have physical books anymore. So I downsized to I'm in a little house now, but when I'm on this is really a one room house without bathrooms and stuff. It's air conditioned and it's nice, but it's just a um, a place to where I have a place to be full time if I need to be. And the trailer's right outside, and I still live in my trailer. I spend a lot of the days in here, but I'm still in the trailer, and that's where most of my stuff is. And here this is a little bit of relief because now I have a place to store stuff, and I can leave things here whereby I used to think everything I'm going to need, I need to bring with me. And that was a lot of stuff in my little 21-foot Winnebago Micro Mini. It took up a lot of space and added a lot of weight. So when you're considering downsizing, think about, am I going to have a home base? Some people have a storage unit that they leave stuff in. That could be less expensive than renting a place like I do. Rarely have I heard people say I rented a storage unit and I was glad about it. Not so much, but people that say, "Hey, I found an inexpensive home base and I can store stuff there and be there anytime I want." That I hear people getting excited about that. What else? So it's emotional, it's hard, and it can be backbreaking. If you save it all up to the last minute where you're transferring stuff out of where you used to live to your new place and you're trying to do it in a couple of days, and like when I did it, it was hot. It took a lot out of me physically and emotionally. Number two, maintenance never stops. The famous words from every full-time RVer I've ever heard is, "It's always something." Wasn't it on Saturday Night Live, Rosanna, was it her that used to say, "It's always something"? Well, it is always something. And if you're gonna embrace and love this lifestyle, you kind of have to be okay with that and expect it. I tell my counseling clients that I wish I could own this sentence, but I don't. I stole it shamelessly. Expectations are resentments under construction. And unreasonable expectations lead to unnecessary resentment. So what do I mean by that? If I have an expectation that, hey, I'm going to buy this brand new RV, and because it's brand new, nothing's going to go wrong with it, let me tell you right here and now, if you're not sure, trust me, that is an unreasonable expectation. In fact, intuitively, you may think I'm going to have less problems with a new rig than with a used rig. The inverse is the correct answer. You're going to have less problems with a used one than you are with a new one, all things being equal. Because new ones, guess what? No one has tested that thing out. No one has put it through its face. I don't care what the dealer tells you or the manufacturer tells you. They have their inspection routines, but no one has taken that thing out and lived for days in it and driven hundreds of miles before you got it. And there's some things you're going to find out only by doing that. And if you buy a used one, the guy before you figured that stuff out pretty quick and hopefully got it fixed. But regardless of whether you get a new one or used one, things are going to go wrong. Like, just think about this. RVs are designed for just using a couple of 3 weeks at the most per year to go camping. The RV that I have, a beautiful Winnebago, it's a 2021 Winnebago Micro Mini 2100 BH. It's beautiful. I bought it brand new because I didn't know any better, but I got lucky. I still have maintenance problems. Why? Because I am living in this thing 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I bought it in 2021. It's now 2025. And I've been living in it every single day since then. So if you look at the estimated number of days this thing was built for, I have already far exceeded it. If you think about it. If you think that the life is, say, 10 years and they expect you to camp 21 days a year, that's 210 days, right? If it's a 20-year life, it's double that. It's 420 days. I've been doing it. What is 365 times 4? I'll tell you right now, 365 times 4. I've been in it 1,460 days. That kind of blows the doors off what this thing was designed for. In my case, did it mean that I have major, super expensive things happen? No, but I'll tell you what things did happen. There's been a pesky leak somehow connected to my hot water heater that I've hired people more than once. I've never solved it. It's an intermittent little water leak, and it's not really a big deal, but that has been there since day one, and I have yet to figure out what that is. The other thing that's happened is very recently, I have a slide out, and it started giving me problems. So, meaning that when I'm sliding it out, it makes an awful noise. And a tech came out and looked at it and said, yeah, one of your motors have gotten out of alignment. And so because it's not in alignment, you can see the scoring marks on the tracks. And eventually it'll fail. And I said, great, can you fix it? And he goes, no, I can't, because you have to remove the entire slide out of the unit, purchase the right replacement parts, and then sort of build it back. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to look into some alternatives. Because I understand, I won't go into the details, what's wrong. I think I can keep it going for a pretty long time because, unlike many people, I don't travel that much. I'm a full-time RVer, but I stay in places for months at a time. So the number of times that slide has to go in and out is fairly minimal. Had I been traveling every 2 weeks, this would have probably come up in the first year. But because I don't travel that frequently, it took 4 years for that problem to show up. And if you go on to Winnebago user groups, you'll all do, there's a ton of complaints about the slide outs. The slide outs, they're called Schwintech slide outs, are huge, huge problems. And before you ask, my warranty is long gone for that. Let's see, what else do we have here? I have a list. Believe it, I have a list. That's not usual for me. Not all boondocking dreams come true. If you watch like Instagram van life people and people, showing the view from their bed and it's beautiful Rocky Mountains and snow capped and you're all alone and the temperature's perfect. And there are places like that. But the majority of the boondocking I've had to do is not really Instagram worthy moments. But don't get me wrong, I love boondocking. The past 3 years, I've spent 3+ months boondocking in the desert in Quartzsite. And I've boondocked in lots of other places. But these things can, one, they can be hard to find. Two, if you like your creature comforts, like you like electricity and air conditioning and internet, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you some. Rarely does an RV come equipped for boondocking with all those things. So start with the easy one, internet, Starlink. I don't see any other alternative that's viable other than Starlink. Because I can get the signal and get online no matter where I am. I don't have to worry about being within range of a tower. And that's can be especially, if you like wilderness camping, that's especially important. So that takes care of internet. Well, what about electricity? Well, I have slowly built my solar array, meaning lithium batteries. For those of you that are interested, I have 700 amp hours of lithium batteries. That's my pool of resource. I have about 1,200 watts of solar between what's on my roof and stuff that I lay in addition on the ground. And that runs everything except for, will it run my AC? Absolutely, it'll run my AC. I've got a 3,000 watt inverter. It'll run my AC, but it won't run it for long. I could probably get away with running it for maybe 3 hours in the afternoon. And I'll go to bed at sundown with the whole battery bank probably at 65% or something. And I could probably make that between 65 and 100 up over the next couple of days, provided I don't use that AC back to back. If I'm someplace warm and I need AC every day, then I fall back to my 5,000 watt generator. It's a dual fuel generator that runs on both propane or gasoline, and I run mine on propane. That's expensive. That was, I think, $1,400. My solar system that wasn't installed by a professional but by knowledgeable friends, it probably cost me in the neighborhood, with everything including things that I wasted, at least $5,000 or $6,000. And that's getting friends to do the labor. I haven't paid anybody any labor for any of my solar stuff. So it's all equipment, wiring. You wouldn't believe how much wires are. If you get the right gauge wire, the heavy duty wire, how it's expensive. Good solar panels are expensive. Good equipment like Victron equipment, those things, they're expensive. And I'm about to do a refurbishment and the whole thing this fall, and I anticipate probably it's going to cost me another $3,000 to make it to. I'm going to bring it to a professional this time, and I'm upgrading. I'm going to upgrade my solar panels on the roof. I'm going to upgrade my Victron equipment to something a little different. I won't go into details there, but if you have boondocking dreams, and part of that dream is you want to be comfortable, like if you're at an RV park, that takes, you're going to have to invest a lot of extra money into your system. And again, back to maintenance. They take a lot of maintenance. So here's a lesson that I learned. When you're putting in, you're doing it yourself, like I did with friends. I'm putting in a whole new electrical system into the RV. And what does the RV do when you're traveling down the road? It shakes. And over time, connections become loose. So let me tell you what happens. If you don't pay attention to that and you don't very regularly check and tighten electrical connections in your new solar system, a connection to, say, a charge controller that costs several $100s becomes loose, heat builds up. Suddenly, you're not producing any electricity from the solar panels because that loose connection just about started a fire. It didn't start a fire, but the whole connection was all black and the plastic was melted and swollen. And guess what? That's not covered under warranty because it's obvious to any technician that what happened was a loose connection did that. So I learned my lesson the hard way, had to buy new hardware, replace it. And now every time, like before I go up to Eagle Nest here in the middle of June, I'm going to be going through and checking every single electrical connection that I have on my solar system. So we can go on and on about how difficult it is to fulfill the boondocking Instagram dreams that you have in your head. You can do it, but it takes effort, it takes time, and it takes money and commitment. And guess what? You still need friends. You know, I really didn't have a plan for. I watched lots of YouTube videos like you're watching mine and figured, well, I'll find people. I didn't know how I was going to find people. I had no idea. Here's a smart thing that I did, though, that my entire social life, or 90% of it, evolved from this one decision. I went on the road December 1st, 2021. And I traveled to Pahrump, Nevada, with the idea to stay there in an RV park for 30 days, establish my residency, get my driver's license, everything registered. And then in January, I had signed up to a rally. And it was a rally from a YouTuber called Next Exit. I checked them out. They're still out there. And they were having these meetups every year. And you would apply to it. You would answer questions. You'd send a picture of yourself, your rig. You had to be either retired or in the process of planning retirement. So I was accepted into that, and it was like close to 100 rigs out in the desert outside of Quartzsite. In January of that year, we parked in a big semicircle and did things together. And I met lifelong friends there. And near that location were other people that I got to know over time. And that's how my socialization started. And it was a smart thing to do because this event that went on for like 2 weeks almost got me familiar with people and I established friendships. So it's a good way to find friends. The next thing is there's surprise costs, and this has to do with the maintenance thing too, that you may not think of. You can let's say my refrigerator died and needed to be replaced. Well, the refrigerator that I have, it runs on propane or electricity. And when you're boondocking, you're grateful it's running on propane because it's much more energy efficient and you're not using that battery bank to keep it going, because it takes a lot of electricity to keep that particular kind of refrigerator going. It's not 12 volt. It's 120 volt electric or propane. To replace that, it's about $2,000, and whatever you're going to pay someone to take out the old one, get rid of it, and put in the new one. And let me tell you, I would not try to take that thing out myself. It's close quarters, it's heavy, it's big, it's out of my league. So you could count on $2,500 just for the refrigerator. The air conditioning unit, $1,200 to $1,400 plus whatever it costs if you can't replace it yourself. There's a furnace, there's a hot water heater, there are tires. So here's how I deal with the hidden costs of RV life. I know how much every component costs. So I know the worst case is I'm going to lose my AC, my refrigerator, my furnace, my hot water heater. I'm going to lose all of those components. And now my slide. And I know what it costs approximately to replace all those things. So I add all that up and I decide, okay, the worst thing that could possibly happen to me is going to cost me, let's say, $9,000 to replace all those things, right? Not replacing the slide, but repairing the slide at a dealer, which I'm not going to do. I emotionally prepare myself for those expenses, and it is managing. I'm back to expectations. I'm managing my expectations. Now, the odds are, if all those things go at once, it's because I've had a horrible accident. That's, some horrible catastrophe has happened, and insurance will probably cover that. But knowing what things cost, not only the physical cost of the item, but what it's going to cost to have someone install it if you're not handy enough to do it yourself, is a really good idea. And it takes the surprise out of hidden RV costs, and it takes the hidden out of hidden RV costs too. So the other item I had, number 6, was staying connected. Internet, and I told you about Starlink on the boondocking thing. But if you're not a boondocker and you're going to be in RV parks and you're going to be in areas that have a cell phone signal, the $165 a month I pay for Starlink, and I think it was $500 or $600 up front, maybe more than that for the equipment. If that's not in your budget, there are less expensive cellular ways that you can stay connected. Just know, if you want to do that wilderness camping thing, you stand a good chance of losing that signal. But that's not everybody's thing. You can do this lifestyle and be just as happy and carefree as I am, staying in RV parks, in state parks, and all kinds of more formal things, and not boondock at all, and always have a good cell signal. So that is that. In this item, I included, and I forget why, healthcare in this, and healthcare should be its own item. And actually, I'm going to put that aside, and I have a list, and I'm going to replace number 8 with healthcare. So hang on to your hats with healthcare. Number 7, plans change and flexibility is key. My mentor in this lifestyle is author Deborah Dickinson. I don't know how many of you know her. Deborah Dickinson is her YouTube channel. She's an author. She's been doing this for years and years and years, and she'll say over again, backup plans are important. Have a backup to your backup and then a backup to that. Don't roll your wheels unless you have multiple backup plans, because you're going to find, hey, I'm gonna be in this particular RV park at this on the 13th, and that's where I'm going to stay. Well, things happen. You could get there and find out that you hate it. You cannot make it there because of weather, or more likely, is you planning on boondocking, and you have this perfect spot, and you get there and you find out it's closed. You can't camp there anymore. You got bad information, or you can't find a place there that you'd like. You have to deal with changing plans, and you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to do things like, hey, if it's getting too late, I may need to stay in the parking lot of a Cracker Barrel or the parking lot of a Walmart, but make sure you call that Walmart first, because lots of Walmarts don't allow camping anymore. Pretty much universally, as far as I know, Cracker Barrel allows it. You may even have to go to a truck stop, but have backup plans and be flexible, or this can become suddenly very flexible. So number 8, let's talk about healthcare. When I started, I retired. I was 62, and I did not qualify for Medicare. I didn't make much money, and so I had to do Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, and I had a huge deductible, like $8,000 or $9,000. So I had to pay for my health care out of pocket. And, my one kind of horror story was having a nosebleed. Even as an ex-paramedic, I couldn't stop my nosebleed after 3 hours. I was a little panicked, and I went to the ER, and they gave me some Afrin, and that stopped it. The little nasal Afrin you buy in the grocery store, which I didn't have any, and I knew about it, but the closest place that was open to where I could buy Afrin was like almost 2 hours away, and the hospital was 5 minutes away. And I thought, well, how much could they possibly charge me for giving me some nasal spray? They can charge you $1,500 for nasal spray. That's what happened. And I ended up having to pay that. I paid that bill. Actually, it's multiple bills. There's the hospital, there's the doctor, there's some other fee. It was a little ugly. So be prepared. Be prepared. Now, when I turned 65, I qualified for Medicare. And one of the tempting things to do is you see these advantage plans that, hey, no fee, you can have an advantage plan. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and you get all these amazing benefits. Well, keep in mind that most advantage plans are regional. Wherever you have your domicile established, like mine was in Nevada, in order to take advantage of all those benefits, I'd have to be in network when I had health problems if I got an advantage plan. And there's advantage plans have costs associated with them, like office visits and co-insurance. You'd have to check out particular plans. I decided to spend extra money every month and get a Medigap plan, a Plan G, which cost me, I think, $158 a month extra for that. And that did two things. It took away all the extra costs. The only thing it doesn't pay is the deductible for Medicare Part B, which is about $257 a year. And I paid that my first office visit. So everything after that, including the hip surgery that I got, zero out of pocket. And also got a separate a drug policy that costs me, because I have a very expensive medication, $89 a month. But the medication costs me less than $100 a month for all my medications every month. So the other big deal with getting a Medigap program, they are not regional. You can go anywhere in the country where someone accepts Medicare. They don't care. You can go anywhere. So if I got cancer, and in my research, and I found that the best cancer center is in Akron, Ohio, I can go to Akron, Ohio and use that service and not worry that I'm, quote, out of network. Like if I had an Advantage plan in back in when my domicile was Pahrump, I might have to pay quite a bit out of pocket being out of network going to where I think my best chances are with fighting cancer. So I think the extra money in my mind is the 158 plus the 89 a month. To me, that's worth it. That's a lot of money, so add that all up. You're paying 185 every month for part A and B, then another 158, and then on top of that another 89. That's quite a nut every month. So it is expensive, but for me, because I found a way to afford it, it gives me peace of mind on the road. The only other thing that I do to give me peace of mind is I can't remember the name of it, but I will find the card right here in my pocket. It is a $79 per year medical helicopter flight insurance. And I will find it right here real quick. And it'll, trust me, it'll be the last card I pull out here, I'm sure. And it doesn't seem to be here. I believe it's Air Med is the name of it. And I'm sorry, I'd have to look it up. I'd have to look it up online because I don't think. Oh, no, it's here. It is Air Medicare. I'll show you what that looks like. It's $79 per year. And one caveat on it is that not every air medical provider in the country accepts Air Medicare insurance. So there's a way on their website you can go put in the zip code where you're going to be and see if that local medical air rescue is in this network. And here in New Mexico, virtually everywhere that I go in New Mexico and everywhere I go in Arizona, this card is good. Why is that important? Because you can get airlifted out of someplace through no choice of your own. You don't get to choose that. If you get critically injured or critically sick, the people that respond are going to make the decision to call for a helicopter if they feel that it's medically necessary. And often that'll happen through a physician. They call that medical control. The paramedic will call into the ER and say, this is where I've got. And the doctor will say, you need to fly them to Phoenix. You need to fly them wherever. So you don't get to make that decision. And oftentimes you might even be unconscious. These flights can run $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. I've heard them being up close to $100,000. Depend on the equipment they use and how far they're going. And a lot of times you'll get stuck with a big part of that bill. If you have this for $79 a year, you don't have to worry about that. So again, it's peace of mind. The other thing is I had gear. RV gear is largely overrated. I just did a video on 10 things that I bought for my RV on Amazon that I wish that I have regrets about, because you'll hear, you got to get all this gear. You have to have this, you have to have that. And it's really tempting to go get it all. And one of the things I wish I did differently is been a little bit more patient and waited till I actually found a real need for the stuff I was buying. if you ever want to, if you're anything like me and liking gadgets and buying stuff, if you're like me and you want to get really scared about yourself, there's a way on Amazon that you can request like an Excel, not Excel, but a comma delimited file that you can bring up in Excel of all your purchases since you've been a member. And you can pull that into a spreadsheet and you can sum the total. And mine went back a lot, many years. It went back to, I can't remember, but at least 12, 14 years, something like that. And I was mortified when I'm so embarrassed. I'm not going to tell you what the number was. I will never tell you what the number was. So into number 10 here, what would I do differently is I would be not so quick to make decisions. Not so quick to think, this is what it's going to look like for me. Because I remember when I was in the process of retiring, I'd been Deborah Dickinson, who I've mentioned, I've been friends with for 30 years. So I got to talk to her before I did it. And I said, well, I'm thinking about getting a 1,000 Trails membership because I'm sure I want to live in RV parks. And there was a silence. She said, Rob, that may very well be, but I know you pretty well. And I think that once you boondock, I think you feel very differently about it. And I, in fact, did. When I first boondocked out in the desert, that sense of freedom, and it was wonderful. I loved everything about it. And she was right. So be slow about making decisions, things to buy, what the lifestyle is going to look like, and where you're going to go. I mean, if you're the kind of person that's got to plan every minute, and I'll be here in October and there in November and there in December, for me, that takes a lot of the joy away. I like to say I am not really committed much to being in a particular place at a particular time. I've learned to do that, make decisions that are flexible and avoid decisions like putting a big deposit on an RV park where I said I'm going to be there for 3 months. So, I'm going to lose my deposit or something if I don't go. I avoid things like that. The sense of freedom that we have in this lifestyle where I don't have to stay here for a particular amount of time. I don't have to go to this next particular place. I can change my mind at the last minute and go here instead of there. That is really valuable stuff. To wrap it up, I would say that as far as friendships and relationships and the family that you choose, I've had more success with that as a nomad than in any other time in my life, no matter where I've lived. The close friends that I made may not be, none of them are really super close. They're not camped with me right now, but they're a phone call away. I know I'm going to see them again. I still have that connection, and it's a lifestyle that fosters really deep connections between people, and it's unlike any environment that I've been in. Even college, where you're forced into, and I had a lot of friends in college. I found that this is even more intense in terms of friendship making, and deep, long-lasting friendships was absolutely superior to college. It's superior to workplaces. It's a wonderful thing. Being around basically like-minded people. It's pretty cool stuff. So that's pretty much it. And I hope you enjoyed this video and got something out of it. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for joining me. And Dottie and I, there's Dottie still sleeping the whole time. We'll see you tomorrow.